1, 2, 3, yeah! This is Amari Purple Talk. Yes. Welcome to episode 86 of Amari Purple Talk, a podcast where I share my thoughts on the Prince musical singularity. I'm Richard Cole, Imaginationist, comic book myth builder, and the Vic Sage of Funk. Thank you once again for tuning in. Please leave your comments in the comments section below, and please download on your favorite podcast platform. If you're listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And please continue to send your questions or topic suggestions for Amari Purple Talk. And how you can do that is by clicking the link in the show notes below, either the website link for Amari Communications, or by following me on Twitter at RichardCole_now, and that now is in all caps, using the hashtag Amari Purple Talk. And your topic or question might just be read in a future episode. All right, and with that out of the way, let's start the show. And we've got a lot to cover today. And I want to start with, we had Wednesday the 21st, which was the 5-year anniversary of the passing of Prince. And come Thursday, the 22nd, started seeing Shock G trending. And, a lot of folks at first, they were bringing up an incident which, when I did the research, turned out to be something from 2017. But within kind of clarifying that, for some followers of Amari Purple Talk. Come to find out later within minutes that Greg Jacobs, also known as Shock G, founder of Digital Underground, Humpty Hump himself, he had passed away as well. So it just kind of hit me hard, just as, the minutes and the hours and just these few days. It's been kind of a tough one to wrap my head around. We're losing so many, especially in hip hop and other entertainers. Cats in their 50s. A lot of folks with a lot of living left to do. And, there's that philosophy that no time is guaranteed. And, but, when you're in your 50s yourself, like I am, maybe a little bit younger, maybe a little bit older, any news, whether it's an entertainer, whether it's a loved one, one of the things you do naturally is, you start taking inventory of your own existence, your own mortality. And, you're hopefully grateful for, what you have done, or you kind of realize that, hey, there is a lot of living to do. Or it's time for living, and time to live that. And we'll get into the positives of life and living as we explore Shock G and as we explore Prince and his music and especially as it relates to today's topic. But, Digital Underground, back when, me and a few other friends of mine, we were trying to write songs, and, we had a little makeshift recording equipment in those days, and, putting our little demos down and, trying to figure it all out or work it all out. We're all young cats in our early 20s. And I know for me, the year of 1990, there were 3 albums that I took notice of that, were, a huge influence on, what I was feeling in regards to the funk, or in regards to just whatever was happening or reacting to what was happening. That was the year, that Summer Graffiti Bridge hadn't come out yet. I don't even think Jerk Out by the Time had really dropped yet, or it just dropped. But, prior to, those things pending, the 3 albums that I know that I took notice of was Belle Biv DeVoe, the Poison album. There was Public Enemy's Fear of a Black Planet. And the third that had like the biggest, profound, funky effect on me, along with those 2 albums, was Sex Packets by Digital Underground. And, the Humpty Dance was in heavy rotation on radio. The video was getting a lot of play. And, the P-Funk sample. Da, 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 ba, ba. It was catchy. It grabbed you. And then there was the other single, the other big hit from that, Do What You Like. As I was putting this together for this episode, just kind of reflecting, because, Digital Underground never really left my radar. I'm sure a lot of you just remember just the hits. But there were albums I wish I still had the CDs to. Probably the only CD I have as far as physical media is concerned is Sons of the P, which is a really good album. But there's albums that they had done after that were amazing. The way he was so consistent in bringing the funk. He was definitely a son of the P. To me, I would say, he should be admiral. He should be admiral of the whatever, the Funk Federation. Like I said, the Humpty Dance, the Sex Packets album, with Do What You Like, Freaks of the Industry, just amazing stuff, and a really strong debut album. Then came This Is an EP release, which had the cut Same Song, which had Parliament's theme from The Black Hole as a sample. And also the beauty of that track that introduced the world to Tupac Shakur, the great Tupac. And, Sons of the P, which had Kiss You Back, which featured Bonnie Boyer on vocals. Prince alum from the Lovesexy band. She was on that track. She was also in the video as well. But like I said, just the putting this together and just kind of revisiting a lot of the tracks. Digital Underground. With the production of Shock G, and it was just consistent. They consistently brought the fun. They brought the hype. There was some messages here and there, and there was some comedy here and there. I mean, it was just like the metaphysics of a Parliament Funkadelic album. There was some deep stuff, but you partied while you were getting deep. Funk not only moved, it removed and moved you some more after that. And, Shock, he studied that, and created the hip hop equivalent to Parliament Funkadelic. And, at that time, you had, gangster rap was kind of coming in, and on the other side you had Hammer and, Vanilla Ice and all that stuff. And, but Digital Underground, to me, I mean, they were just pure hip hop with the Oakland funk aesthetic. They kept the purity of hip hop, the DJ and, the MCing, the rhyme skills. And like I said, they brought a balance. There was some deep stuff, some messages in there. There was, like I said, and also the fun, and they brought the party with that. And it was consistent with every album. And I mean, even albums y'all might not, if you just follow the hits of an artist or something like that, trust me, what we're about to get into when it comes to Digital Underground, definitely seek these albums, seek these tracks out. You will never be disappointed. If you were into funk and you like a little funk in your hip hop, this is definitely the group for you. And I mean, we've covered, again, Sex Packets. We've covered, this is an EP release with same song. Like I said, that introduced us to Tupac, introduced the world to Tupac. And, Sons of the P. After this album, George Clinton and Bootsy Collins, they anointed them, kind of the way, like Tony Stark making Spider-Man an Avenger. All right, you wanted the P-Funk now. And that album, that solidified it. That solidified their place in funk, in funk lore. And again, there's the Prince connection. First we have Bonnie Board. She was from Oakland. Digital Underground was out of Oakland. So you have that connection. One of the standouts for me was, It's a Good Thing That We're Rapping. We'll get to that in a few. But it was during this album that was my first time seeing them live. Here in St. Louis, touring in support of that album. And my God, they put on a show, I mean, I knew it was going to be fun and entertaining, but it was like when they came out and it was like this just long, funky intro. And then Shock G comes out and he's kind of got the strap-on keyboard a la Jimmy Jam, a la George Duke. And I mean, he comes out and I mean, he's just playing, and I mean, with this serious keyboard solo, and this is the beginning of the show, and that right there, that was like, yeah, these guys, on record, they handled their business. On stage, they damn sure, handled their business too. And every time they came here, we were there, And, the McCartney to my Lennon, the, songwriting partner, the best friend from high school, we all immersed in the funk. We immersed in Prince and the time. And every time that Digital Underground came to loot, we were there. We even, one time they were here, it was like after the show, on the way, we hitting up Walgreens, because I don't know, I think we were just getting a little something to drink before we probably hit another club or something like that. But, we stopped off at Walgreens and lo and behold, there was Money B right there in Walgreens. So, I mean, that was kind of one of, the few celebrity meetings of my lifetime. And, I know the next time that they came, I know it was in support of the We Got the Gravy album. Wind Me Up is one of my favorite tracks. And to see them do that on stage, oh, man. And like I said, every time they came, we were there. The true funk soldiers, them repping the stage, us representing by, bringing our concert dollars to the spot. Oh, man. But I mean, seeing Shock G's musicianship live, it took my enjoyment of Digital Underground music to a whole nother level. I mean, he was the piano man. For a while, I don't think we knew that Shock G and Humpty Hump were the same person. It was a long while before, like a la Jamie Starr, it was a while before we realized, oh, wait, that was Prince. But also the piano man, I thought was like a separate person. But that was just another character. It was another alias. It was him playing the piano on all those DU tracks. And again, I can't say it enough. They consistently delivered the funk on every album. And again, Digital Underground music, it was hype music. It was motivation music. Again, do what you like. The title says it all. Do what you like. It doesn't matter what other people think. And, you be you. You do what makes you, because you're putting your energy, you're tapping into your frequency to open up whatever doors you need to open up, whatever portals you need to open up to get to that higher elevation. You define that. Nobody else can define it. People can enhance it, but they can't define it. You make that definition. You create your own reality. Do what you like. And, when it came to like the Humpty dance, I'm telling y'all, nobody Humpty dance harder than me when the DJ dropped that in the clubs. You would have thought that I was in Digital Underground. It was like, that was just, it's a fun track. It's just fun. And we need more of that fun energy, not at the sake of what matters in this world. There's a lot of important things. But again, using that positive energy to elevate your frequency to another level. That's what it was about. Getting back to Good Thing That We're Rapping. It was like the last cut on the Sons of the P album. And it's just, basically, talking about hustling, it's a good thing that we're rapping, because if it wasn't for the rapping, we'd be macking. It's a good thing we've got music, because then we'd have to find a way to get ahead and use it. That was sort of like when it came to, the band and everything. It was like whenever, we were in some crazy situation or, some kind of rotten kind of a deal, whether it was a photo gig or some kind of art gig or, we were trying to make a creative difference here. Not necessarily just music, but, to me, I always felt this place was just as important as in Oakland. It was just important as in New York or in LA, but that's a whole nother story. But, whenever we found kind of like those off the wall situations, that was the song, that was the go-to track. Again, it kept us hyped, kept us going. It was kind of the equivalent of, if anybody knows deep Beatles folklore, whenever when the Beatles were starting, whenever it was a crappy situation or whatever, John would rally the band like, hey, where are we going, fellas? And they go to the top, Johnny. And it's like, where's that? To the toppermost of the poppermost. And for us, this Digital Underground track, Good Thing That We're Rapping, that was our equivalent to that. It's a good thing that we're rapping. Because without the rapping, we'd be macking. It's a good thing we've got music, because if without it, we'd have to find a way to get ahead, and then we have to use it. Again, motivation, but funky, deep, but it elevated you to a whole nother level. And then you got the remix of the Loonies, I Got 5 on it. Whew. I don't think that there was a night from the 90s to wherever in the 21st century that I stopped hanging out. I don't think there was a night that went by without that song, whether I was physically playing it in the car or if I was riding with somebody, they were playing it, or whatever club you ended up in, the DJ was playing it, or you was somewhere and it was on the radio at that particular moment that you out. Nothing. That is just that remix is just funky. If there's a Funk Hall of Fame, that track needs to be in it. And again, before, during, or after a club, that song just lifted you. You just couldn't escape it. And you didn't want to escape it. It was just that dang good. Oh, yeah. That's the magic of an artist. Whether we're talking about Shock G or whether we're talking about Prince, it's those songs that make you feel good like that. Tupac's I Get Around, again, that was another one. That's a song that everybody loves. If there's one Tupac song that you know that one. Or it's in your top 5 somewhere. But speaking of which, that's the most famous track that Shock G produced for Tupac. But when I think about the Me Against the World album, there's his involvement on So Many Tears. He didn't produce that one by himself, but it was the Digital Underground production crew that did that track, and that is a deep cut track that, a lot of Tupac fans gravitate towards. So Many Tears. I know in, 90, 4, 5, at Me Against the World album, that cassette stayed in the car. It rarely left the car. That was like, what I was vibing off of. And also on that same album, was Fuck the World. That's a good track too. And that's a Shock G produced track as well. And it's one of those, there's so many songs and you forget like, oh yeah, he did that one. Oh yeah, he produced that one. Oh yeah, remember Digital Underground had that too. As I was putting the show together, the Body Hat Syndrome, that album, with Return of the Crazy One, Do Woo You, those tracks, I had forgotten how good those songs were. And I know kind of when Prince's Symbol album, after a while, kind of left me flat, the Body Hat Syndrome by Digital Underground was the one that was like, yeah, this is my go-to funk album. Non-stop. This is funk. Didn't have to think too hard. Again, it had the messages and it had the party anthems, and you just couldn't help yourself listening to it. But yeah, I had forgotten all of those. What's Up with the Love? In fact, Tupac's on that track too. So many good albums that they had. Future Rhythm. We Got the Gravy. Just go check those out. Go find them. They're on your favorite streaming platform. If you can find them on CD, I know I have to get my collection back, because I did have them all on CD. And like I said, the only one I've got left now is Sons of the P. But yeah, check out your local record store, wherever, pick up on these tracks. Getting to the Prince connection, the remix to Love Sign. I enjoyed listening to that. Not necessarily my favorite Digital Underground moment, but I was happy that Shock G got the opportunity to remix a Prince track. And for me, it works. And again, like I said, I've always enjoyed listening to it. But yeah, you can't leave that out. There was another song he was supposed to do. I can't remember which one it was. Shoot. But there was another one that I guess either it's in the vault, or he never got around to actually working on it. I'm not sure what the story is, but I'm sure, please correct me in the comments on, what that other track might have been. But again, like I said, they never left my radar, even when they weren't in the top 10 or whatever, not even the top 40. Like I said, things like Future Rhythm and We Got the Gravy. There are some really funky gems on those albums. And like I said, I encourage you to go check those out. Check them all out. My all-time favorite Digital Underground track, it's on an album called The Lost Files, and it's called On One. Originally, D'Angelo was supposed to have been on this track, and it was supposed to have come out like in around 1998. It was supposed to have been on the We Got the Gravy album, but for whatever reason, D'Angelo ended up not being on the track. So I guess this sat in Shock G's vault until the release of the Lost Files album. And again, you talk about positivity, you talk about, you want to, it's new agey without getting into that sort of banging you over the head with it. It's the MC's way with great rhyme skills to kind of touch on those points, but from a hip hop perspective. And when I first heard that, it was about 6 or 7 years ago when I first heard that track. And that track, that was sort of, without getting too much out there, I'd say in between, sort of in between marriages, so to speak. That song was sort of my motivational record. That was the one, because it's about being yourself. It's about, being true to yourself. It's about you elevating your frequency to be, positive, to be happy. Don't let other people define who you are, or your existence or anything like that. Or, or even if you're in a situation where you've been brought down, you don't let those people hold you down. You don't give them that energy. You don't give them that strength. You hold on. And just for that, it's my favorite track to this day. And I ended up playing it at Friday a lot. It's just over and over and over. And I know the night before, I texted a friend of mine, see if he had heard the news about it. Yeah, he was about to text me about it. And, I kind of brought up this track, and I sent him the link to the track. And, you know, it's a, like I said, it's a positive experience. And like I said, I just ended up playing it over and over and over, Friday. But like I said, we were kind of just, exchanging that, gave him that link to that track. But I also asked him if he had heard Prince's One Song. And, kind of got me thinking like, wow, my two favorite, sort of super deep cuts by these artists have the word one in the title. I don't know if that's symmetry, coincidence, whatever you want to call it. But my all-time favorite Digital Underground track is On One. Recommend everybody check that out and listen to it. And my all-time favorite deep, super deep cut beyond the B-sides, beyond the funk, beyond the ballads, beyond, what anybody would think of as a favorite Prince song. My favorite all-time Prince deep cut is One Song. And we'll talk about that in a moment too. But yeah, that is, just thinking about those two things and the subject matter in both of those songs. It's, again, I would trade everything just to have these two artists back, constantly creating new music and inspiring us in that way. But now, we have this body of work to where now we have to, get inspired through that in order for us to create our own lanes and create our own destinies. And, there's been a lot of videos surfacing on Shock. Some I kind of question the taste in releasing some of these videos. But again, we're not going to bog this down to negativity. But the one video that somebody did leak, and it's been kind of circulating amongst the Prince musical singularity, is of Shock. He's kind of doing some, breaking down some philosophy, dropping a little knowledge. Again, kind of in the vein of On One, kind of in the vein of One Song. Again, tapping those frequencies. But, he's kind of philosophizing on Prince's controversy. Life is just a game. We're all just the same. Talking about, living your life in the positive. Stay in that mode of positivity. We gravitate towards so much, especially on Facebook. We gravitate towards, whatever viral negative video and stuff like that. And, but it's easier to, focus on what you love, focus on what you want to accomplish. Sometimes there's certain situations and it's like, I'm not making any money focusing on that, or how is this helping me grow as a person? It's some things you experience and you get the knowledge from, or you experience it to know like, well, I know I'm not ever going to do that. But the way we kind of dwell on a lot of things, a lot of distractions, whether it's in social media or whether it's in television or films or, contemporary music or anything like that, that's not positive, that's not inspiring, that's not uplifting. We focus too much on that and, or we give into entropy. And we've done episodes on Amari Purple Talk about entropy and, how Prince would talk about not giving into entropy, give, in his words, give the law back to God. But basically it's the same message, get into yourself, get into loving yourself, get into loving other people, get into being positive towards other people, forget about hate, or even dislike, yeah, it's cool to dislike something, or it's cool, or to agree to disagree, but, to wish someone not to be in existence, that's a crime. And that's also energy that you may not want to revisit you a lot. It's, we just have to find a better way. It's heavy, just that. And been seeing a lot of that just over the course of this weekend. Whether it's in works of fiction or, whether it's real life people doing real life things to help other people. But, that's the thing. I'm not the, don't think I'm the greatest at what I do. I mean, I think I'm great doing it, but, that's the thing. It's about what I do and what my stamp on whatever it is, whether it's music or photography or art or whatever it is. It's me putting my stamp on it. So, yeah, I think it's great on that level. But, yeah, I don't compare myself to whether it's other people I look up to or whatever. But I would say to paraphrase a work of fiction, yeah, the only superpower that I have is that I can do better. And we can do better. And that's just how, that's how we need to roll with that. That's the takeaway from this. Again, we're dealing with the shock of people being ripped out of the picture the way that they have been. Whether it's Prince, it's like, you wake up and this is the last thing that you expect. You didn't expect to lose Prince. You didn't expect to lose a Shock G, or you didn't expect to lose a loved one at any given point. But the goal is to not to be overcome by grief, and to always have those good thoughts and those good memories travel to that person, wherever they're at, wherever they are. And like I said, it's amazing. Like I said, the On One, like I said, I've been playing that a lot. That's probably been the one Digital Underground song I have been playing consistently over the last few years. I may have revisited certain tracks on certain albums over the last few years, but in revisiting a lot of the music that I probably hadn't listened to since certain albums' initial release, the consistency is in not only just the positive messages in a lot of it, but just the overwhelming good feeling. I mean, that was tapping into some frequencies. You just felt good. And even through all of this, like trying to wrap your head around it all, it was just like, damn, I'm listening to a certain track and I'm smiling. Return of the Crazy One, and I'm just smiling because it's just like, God, I remember 1993. And it was just great to be there. It was a great, some things could have been better, but it was just a fun time. It was a lot of fun. And that was a good song to be playing in the background. And a good album to listen to. Like I said, that was sort of, once I kind of got over the Symbol album, that was the one. I know I was listening to a lot of, probably a lot of Ice Cube at the time too. Some of that was good. A lot of that was funky too. Then, the Chronic was coming around, and Snoop's first album, and those were, of course, masterpieces as far as albums go. But yeah, Return of the Body Hat Syndrome album, it really kind of spoke to, I think they were more in touch with the metaphysics of the P-Funk. Not to say that Dr. Dre or Ice Cube weren't, because they basically took it, but they just put a different spin on it, or they had it in a different frequency. And it was just as good. It was just as funky. But like I said, Digital Underground, I think it just kind of resonated with me in a way that was different. And I kind of got into it just a little bit more than that. But, like I say, yeah, if you see the video where Shock G is talking about controversy and about, living your life in the positive, by all means, that's the one to seek out. The other stuff, like I said, it's kind of questionable in regards to, good taste. Like I said, we all process grief differently. So, we hope it's that and not just, putting somebody's business out there. I know, like I said, in trying to clarify what was thought of at the time as rumor, like I said, it may have inadvertently, again, put out certain energies that didn't need to go out. And, for that, I take responsibility. And for that, I apologize for. And yeah, let's definitely just kind of keep it on the positive. Remember the music. Remember the videos. Remember the good times. And, we'll keep his funk alive and going. Just like we keep Prince's funk going. And keeping that legacy alive as well. And keep it in a certain perspective to where things don't get whitewashed too. So Shock, Humpty, the Piano Man, and we gonna miss you, bruh. But we got this incredible body of work that you left behind, and we're going to continue to celebrate it and enjoy it. And let's go and give this brother a moment of silence. All right, so Shock G, you on one, and you popping it. All right, so we were talking about one song earlier, and also as this part two. Like I said, I know there were celebrations all across the board. It was other podcasts and Paisley Park and just people in general, so it was easy to kind of have Amari Purple Talk get a little bit lost in the shuffle. So we didn't quite get the responses in regards to, hey, what's your favorite song, what's your favorite album, all this stuff. But still going to do a part two of celebration. And yeah, I mean, it's such a magnitude of music to cover. So many eras, so many favorite moments. I know that after I did the show last week, it was like, I should have talked about this. Oh, I should have talked about that. But like I said, it just got to the point there was so much, we'd have to do part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6. And, I really want to get back to what the basics of Amari Purple Talk is all about. And that's the bootleg wish list and the Purple Spotlight, which today the Purple Spotlight was on Shock G. So we did accomplish that portion of it. But like I said, just kind of get back into the regular format of Amari Purple Talk. But as I was getting closer to prepping for the show, I think the answer came through this concept of the one. And, the one was practically invented by James Brown. And it's just basically, it's that one. You count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the one. Where it's like, pop, everybody stop on the one, and pop. That's James Brown. James Brown invented that. He taught it to Bootsy Collins, where, with the funk, Sly Stone took it to another level, and George Clinton took it to another level, but it was integrating Bootsy into the Parliament Funkadelic thing, or Parliament Funkadelic thing. And Bootsy teaching George that concept of the one, to where, the metaphysics of the P went to that whole nother level. And it was something that Prince had picked up on. And, like I said, you hear it all the time, whether it was the Revolution or any configuration of the MPG or Third Eye Girl, if they would pop, everybody stop on the one, pop. You stopped on that one. Or give me 1, pop. Give me 2, pop, pop. Give me 3, pop, pop, pop. Anytime you got that, that's the metaphysics of the funk. That's the one. And like I said, Shock knew it. Prince knew it. They had the one. And they elevated their artistry to such a level that one did a song called On One, and Prince, kind of right around that same time in the late 90s, came up with one song. I Am the Universe. Like I say, there's so much that can bring you down that, it's easy to dismiss tracks like this as, like I said, it's that new age stuff, or, whatever you want to call it, that Oprah stuff that she talks about on Sundays or whatever. But, a lot of that is rooted, whether it's in ancient Egyptian philosophy or just African philosophy. It could be in Hindu philosophy, any ancient culture, just anything prior. I mean, and it can be even found in the basics of a lot of Western, spiritual systems too. But, that thing, the one song, a lot of it, what he was talking about in that, even though he was, sort of knee deep in the whole Jehovah Witness thing, a lot of that, it didn't have those Jehovah Witness tones to it. Maybe in some of the speech, the spoken word part of it, maybe. But, with the whole idea of I am the universe, the whole idea of creating your own reality, don't get it twisted. It's like people read stuff like The Secret and, consider it bonkers because it's this thing of, oh, just wish for positivity. Well, the world doesn't function like that. Yeah, things happen in the world. There's adversity. And our ancient cultures knew of diversity. But ancient cultures, too, also knew this was the training ground. Just like the lyrics and controversy, life is just a game. We're all just the same. Life is a game. This is the training ground. This isn't, to a lot of ancient cultures, this isn't the reality. The reality is when you make that transition because you're in an elevated state or you on a different frequency, or depending on what level you were on or what you managed to learn here, there's a certain realm, where you vibrate at a certain frequency. But, that's a whole nother topic for a whole different show. But again, you have to think in those positive terms. There's no down, or yes, there's adversity, but the more you learn, the more you experience, the more you integrate information and experience into your life, then you'll be wise enough to be able to either sidestep that adversity, or you have that strength to take that adversity head on and come out on top of it. And that's what, things like On One and One Song, both in different ways, where On One, it's damn funky. It's pure hip hop. But One Song, it's beautiful, it's a ballad, it's heartfelt, it's a spiritual practically. It's a Prince spiritual. Some of the opening lines of the spoken word part, I mean, it speaks volumes right there. It says 1999 and the illusion continues. One begs to ask, when will it end? You could substitute the 1999 for 2021. 2021 and the illusion continues. One begs to ask, when will it end? Unnatural disasters happen seemingly every week. Train crashes, shootings, nuclear accidents. You could swap out the nuclear accidents for pandemic, or you could swap out the unnatural disaster for pandemic as well. Is there any place of refuge one can flee from this insanity? Very few of mankind's creations are designed to make you feel good, unless you get pleasure from seeing the human body desecrated by guns, explosions, fights, and any other things these so-called artists create. In the name of freedom, many have used art as a means to destroy the human mind. As an excuse to continue, we hear art reflects society. Yeah, that was written in the late 90s. But like I said, here it is, 2021. And it's the same thing. But to me, I think, Prince was one of those true artists, created in the way that artists in ancient times were viewed. And I don't mean ancient by Renaissance time. I think the game was pretty much up by that point. But, the importance of art in a society's culture in ancient times, it was hand in hand with, whoever was running the country, or it was hand in hand with the people. It was, a much more positive society. There was no economic system. People worked for the betterment of themselves. There was no, it was Greek and Roman society that created the economic system that, kind of what we base our economic system on today. But prior to that, you traded for your goods. Artists created not for money. They created because they were just that damn good at it. And because they were just that damn good at it, and they created what they felt, then therefore they were taken care of by whatever, pharaonic society or society itself. The farmers didn't mind giving up their wheat or vegetables to make sure an artist was fed. homes were provided, that type of thing, and like I said, not just with artists, there were, yeah, I mean, granted, there were haves and have-nots as well, but because, again, there wasn't the system of economics that we know as economics today, that there was no greed, maybe, I don't know, except depending on as times got later and more negative influences started to infiltrate, that, greed became more paramount and filtered down from the top to the bottom, or vice versa. But, Prince was one of those few that, yeah, benefited very well from the type of economic system that we have, but continued to try to create the art that he felt was important. Not what a record company or whoever was signing the checks at that particular time or owning the masters dictated that he should do. He's one of those, definitely one of those few, George Clinton as well, or Hendrix or Zappa, or the Beatles, or whoever, we get very few of those nowadays that, like I said, they create that art, like we have a Stevie Wonder, we had a Marvin Gaye, where they held that mirror to society and held society accountable to that, or it either influenced you to become something, whether you needed to get involved in politics or create a system that would help either feed people or give people jobs or give people hope. I think that's the continuation of the celebration of Prince's legacy is, there's so many great moments. Like I said, I know I touched on some of the earliest ones, but, there were moments like the Sign of the Times era, which was very influential on my creativity across the board, whether it had to do with music or photography or whatever. It got me to California to meet and work with very talented people, that, were as close to me as any close friend I had growing up, or as close as any, family member, anything like that. So, that influence was there. I think that there's not one era of Prince that was affected by that. I think without his music being such a prominent influence, that there were a lot of people that I wouldn't count as friends, or friends that are family, that type of thing. I wouldn't, that it wouldn't exist, or, it would have been friends or whatever, it would have been different. But like I said, without that music in the background, without that philosophy, from Dirty Mind to Controversy to 1999, there was a video that surfaced, clip from the original Tavis Smiley show, and it was with Prince and Larry Graham and Shaka Khan, and the caller called in and was thanking Prince for being such an influence on her, and Prince was like, well, I hope in a good way. Yeah, I know for me, yeah, a very good way, because it wasn't about the obvious stuff. I always wanted, being at like maybe 14, 15 or so, I wanted an artist to have that type of impact. The way, when I was reading about, whatever, the impact that, whether it was, Chuck Berry or Little Richard or Elvis, the impact they were having on, teenagers at that time. Or more so with the Beatles and the Stones and Hendrix and Dylan and all them, the impact that they had. It was nice, even though a lot of them were still making records by the time I was 15. A lot of them had passed on too. But it was still looking back at that 10 to 15 year window, or 10 to 20 year window. And it was like drawing that inspiration from what had already happened. There weren't, granted, there was Parliament Funkadelic for me. That was probably the biggest influence. Yeah, you can count the Jackson 5 to a certain degree. But, it wasn't a thing of like, oh my God, I got to dress like the Jackson 5. Or, like I said, there was a certain thing with Parliament Funkadelic that was influential. But it was like Prince was that one artist that, had that ability to kind of challenge the status quo in a way that's influential, that sort of almost, I hate to use anti-establishment, that's kind of a cliche, but, that was sort of the initial thing at 15, that was the artist that you needed to have. Because he was having that impact the way that, say, like the new wave and the punk was sort of grabbing the attention of that audience with that. And it was a thing of, well, I'm just going to do it. And not in a negative way. It was never about, go tell your parents to rip off or anything like that. It was just a thing of, it made you think, like, Party Up made you think. You're going to have to fight your own damn war because we don't want to fight no more. Well, damn, that's what they were saying in the 60s. And now, we got this cat named Reagan in office, and it's like, now we got to say the same things all over again. That's what was up. That was the motivation. And to me, the other stuff, like the Dirty Mind, to me, it was like the equivalent of, now that I think about it, it was sort of like the equivalent of James Dean. Sort of that sort of angst, that sort of torture, because he didn't come across as like, like the macho, like the Rick James. It kind of came at this more, like I said, to me, it's more like James Dean. If you've seen Rebel Without a Cause, that sort of tortured soul type of mentality, that it drew the women into it. And, that was sort of the, that was kind of the influence, with that. And then as he got older, and then as we got older, then we got into, where he was talking about ownership of his name, ownership of his master recordings, ownership of one's own career, one's own destiny. And, that had a big impact on me. It was granted, again, you work certain jobs, and I've had jobs that were way better than the one that I have now. And very few times I felt I've had to apply that aesthetic. But the times that I've had to, that was the influence, And of course, there was Public Enemy. Of course, there's the Black Panthers. Of course, whatever, I had read or been exposed to at that time. But in real time, Prince was the one like, hey, ownership, freedom, or don't let somebody put you in a box when it comes to your paycheck. So like I said, very few times. So there have been times where I've been fortunate to be in situations where at the same time that was happening, he was in a position to where he was making agreements with the establishment that were beneficial to him. And like I said, up until 10 years ago, I've had that as a luxury. I got to experience that. And now, again, I find that as an inspiration. Again, this whole thing, this whole week, the one, on one song. Create your own universe, create your own reality. The beautiful ones, the message in that book, create your day and then create your life. That's the celebration. I think it's cool that we're not forgetting. That is cool. It's cool that, we're supporting the estate, with every new release. Again, it's not about, this era's better than that era. And, oh, you're just stuck in the 80s. But like I say, to paraphrase Biggie, it's like, if I gotta choose an era, I gotta choose the 80s. I live out there, so don't go there. But, that don't mean, brother can't here's some 90s beats and, vibe on some 21st century treats, that's what's up. Like I said, is he grew older, we grew older. And, some jumped off the bandwagon, but that's cool. Music is subjective. And that's cool that they do. But don't hate on somebody that's coming in and, they were 15 when Diamonds and Pearls came out. Or they were 15 when Artificial Age dropped. And they're going back to play catch up. Heck, my Beatles Gateway album was an album that, trust me, none of them wanted out. It was a compilation, had this cheesy cover to it, but I love that album. And I play it, and I go back to being 10 years old again when I first got that. That was 6 years after they split. But, I went back and played catch up and got hip. Like, oh, this is the Revolver album. This is this album. So, cool. Like I said, again, if somebody was 15 or whatever when Diamonds and Pearls came out and then they went back and caught up to Dirty Mind and Controversy in 1999, that's cool. Let them live that. Let them experience that. Let them enjoy it. Or Musicology was their gateway. And they went back to see what all the hubbub and the hype was about. Like, who's this dude? He's in the rock and roll, got inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and got on and played a Beatles song with these cats and played guitar better than all of them. And they were around at that time. What's all the hubbub? Who is this dude? Or people came in through Purple Rain. Cool. It's all good. It's all good. But I think, like I said, the energy that I think he would really rather have traveled to him, like I said, we don't forget, whatever period of time that we have our happy memories, whether they were up, down, good, bad, whatever. We came through it because of, like I said, I went through a downtime in 94, and Love Sexy was one of the ones that brought me out of it. So, hey, it's all good. It's all good. But again, the takeaway is, or what the energy that would travel to him is, hey, let's get into our spiritual selves. Whatever your spiritual center is, whether it's a Western religion, whether it's an Eastern philosophy, whatever it is, engage, tap into that frequency and use that positivity to, get yourself out of that dead end job, get yourself to do that project you've been wanting to do, or find that city you want to live in, or, help somebody get a meal that day, or, somebody comes into your spot, your work spot, and they're clowning and acting up. Try to bring a little try to bring a little kindness. Some people will test your nerves like they've never been tested before. And that's the thing too, the flip side of that. Don't be afraid to stand up for your dignity, and don't be afraid to stand up for your self-respect. Because there's cats out there that's trying to challenge that too, and want to shut you down, for standing up for yourself. It's like, again, to paraphrase the work of fiction, I'm a black man. You don't think I don't understand that? It's like, yeah, I get you having a bad day, but, not at the expense of me being a black man in this country. That is damn sure not going to happen. So that's the thing. You live for that positive. You are the universe. I am the universe. We are the universe. I hope that the estate, like I said, it could be just a digital single, but that, if I campaign, as much as I'm campaigning for the time getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I am campaigning for one song to be reissued. You can make it a digital only release. I wouldn't be mad. As much of a physical media person that I am, you can make it digital. I will not be mad. I will not complain, but, or if you can find a way to make a compilation, it doesn't have to be part of a super deluxe edition or anything like that. But, or heck, I'll give you the money. Just, make one song available just for me. I'll give you whatever you want for it. Estate. You have my purple ducats. My purple croutons will be yours. But, but make it available for everybody, though. Whether you just do it digitally, I kind of get why we might not get we're not getting a controversy super deluxe. We're getting a Diamonds and Pearls. I think the heaviness of Welcome to America and the immediacy of it, it's easier to market, I would say. And it's, sound wise, it's contemporary enough. There's at least a good 10-year difference as opposed to a 40-year difference. Although music is timeless and Prince music is timeless. But I think the heaviness of Welcome to America versus the heaviness of Controversy, it would just be too heavy. As much as we would want both, or, a lot of us wouldn't be bothered by it. But from remember, this is the music business, not the Prince fan business or the friend business. So I think just from that marketing standpoint, it's good to have that balance, because you got the heaviness of Welcome to America, which, might divide some of the fan base. But you also have Diamonds and Pearls, which is a little bit, it's got some heavy stuff in that too. But it's, just because Prince made that as pop as he could make it, it's given with a spoonful of sugar, where I think with Welcome to America, it's like it's no holds barred. And I'm looking forward to that too, experiencing that too. Like I said, I'm looking forward to this album. And cool, we're getting the Diamonds and Pearls, or we might be getting it, or whatever they decide to do as a super deluxe. Either way, you have my purple croutons, and I'll listen to it, and then I'll decide if I like, and like I said, if they drop the Planet Earth super deluxe tomorrow, like I said, it's not my favorite album. Everyone that listens to Amari Purple Talk knows that. I'd still drop my purple ducats and get it, because it would probably have some stuff on there that's like, oh, well, that should have been on there. That should have been on there too. So I get it. But with one song, like I said, it would be cool to kind of slip that in, especially while we're waiting. It's 99 cents or $1.25 or whatever on our social platform, whatever our streaming platform would be. We can kind of slip that in while we're waiting for the big super deluxe stuff to happen. But what's most important is, what do you think? I hope that we covered enough. Like I said, as far as remembering Prince and celebrating, like I said, not only the music, but his philosophies and, only he knows in his head what he would have wanted. Like I said, we're doing our part, that regardless of what type of release from the vault, we've all, for the most part, enthusiastically supported it. We've had some criticisms on some things, but overall it's been positive. And we know they're doing the best that they can with what they have to work with. And, we still miss the cat. Like I said, I trade in all these super deluxe editions to have the cat walking the planet and making music, but wouldn't want him to be here suffering and in pain, and still dependent on whatever he needed or felt he needed. And, same thing, Shock G too. Would rather have them here making new music, but if not, like I said, we celebrate the music, we celebrate the artistry, celebrate the philosophies, the positive aspects, let's keep the happy memories going. Let's keep all of it, reminisce, watch your favorite videos, listen to your favorite albums. There's a big, huge Prince community. Like I said, shout out to, the Prince Podcast Juice, and Michael Dean and Prince's Friend and Niecy, and then Violet Reality and Prince Lyrics Podcast, and Chris Johnson, and was it the Purple Nights Podcast? They've been able to interview all of the best, the upper echelon of the Prince musical singularity. So, those interviews are preserved. So, again, Prince's memory doesn't get whitewashed. I try to hit at it from a music pundit standpoint, try to keep it in a historical perspective, try to keep it as real as possible, try to stay out of the rumor, the negative rumor mill as much as I can, and just continue just to share my enthusiasm, and kind of as a repayment, because like I said, there's not an era of his music that didn't go by that did not have a profound effect on what I do creatively and basically how I handle my business too. Like I said, it's cool to be responsible, which is what this, that's been about. But at the same time, there's still a lot of creativity to go, and a lot of things that still need to happen, and a lot of stuff that needs to get out of the way so it can happen. So, thank you, Prince, for creating all of that and putting together the time and giving us the Revolution and the MPG, and thanks for giving us, Jill Jones and Madhouse and The Family, /F Deluxe. Thanks for all those great albums and videos and films, and thanks for the vault. So you captured a bunch of us, that didn't get off into a Beatles vault or too deep into the Hendrix vault or the Zappa vault or the Dylan vault. It's like, nah, we invested in your vault, or, we can now add your vault to our collecting of a lot of those other folks' vaults as they drop box sets and compilations and live stuff and movies and documentaries. We'll do what we can to keep people not in the know, or we'll balance out a lot of negativity with the positivity. So we make sure folks get the story right, get the story straight, and we just gonna keep partying like it's 1999. So, but again, leave me a comment, let me know your thoughts. If you're on YouTube, hit like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Help me keep this show going. Like I said, my responsibility gig, keeps the lights on and stuff like that. But when it comes to playing with these toys, with these computers and cameras and webcams and software that I need to get to make this show better and come up with other Amari stuff for you to listen to and watch and enjoy, keep that support in. Click on those links below. Buy some Amari Purple Talk merchandise or Amari merchandise in general. Hit me up with whatever, if it's a quarter, 50 cents, $1, whatever, donate. It all helps. And like I said, we can keep this show rolling and get some other shows up off the ground and some other projects going, and support some of the past projects too. Don't buy the Reset AP though. Don't buy that. Just don't. I know it's out there, but I was just trying to see how, to use that avenue for some stuff that will be coming out. That those channels can work and they do work, but buy everything else though. But don't buy that Reset album. Don't get that. But anyway, like I say, leave me a comment, let me know your thoughts. Think we're just gonna leave it here and every week by saying what Prince said as part of the mission statement for the Beautiful Ones book: create your day and then create your life. And as always, keep it purple and on the one.